So finally, I'd like to share with you a technique for creating a lovely lapped zipper. Lapped zippers have traditionally not been my favorite zipper because, there's something about having to top stitch a zipper in that just, I don't know why, it just wasn't my favorite. But I learned this technique and I want to share it with you because I think it's a real winner. And they look much, much more professional this way. All right, so to begin with, just as with my invisible zipper, I want to make sure that I buy a zipper that is at least a couple inches longer than what I truly need to use. The reason being is it's so much easier to sew a zipper in place if you can sew it in with the pull out of the way. So if you use a zipper that's longer, you can always cut off the top because you're going to be finishing this edge anyway with a facing or a waistband. So just go ahead and buy yourself a little bit longer zipper and you'll be very glad you did. Okay, so I'm just going to make a little mark for my own reference where the top of my zipper is going to be located. And I'll remember not to press this to erase my gel pen. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is actually sew my seam. So I want to make sure to sew this from where I want my desired end of my zipper to be, that would be the zipper stop, down to the bottom. So I'm going to just mark where my zipper stop is going to be when I sew my seam. And just go ahead and sew my 5/8 inch seam. All right. So there's the bottom of my seam. Now I'm going to press my seam open. And when I do, I want to make sure that one is pressed 5/8 of an inch wide. And the other is only pressed 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to eyeball this. But the point is that the other seam allowance needs to be pressed slightly narrower than the other. Because it's this little gap, that little 1/8 of an inch difference, that is going to keep your zipper tape from showing when you sew your zipper. Okay? All right. So you have an underlap available. Like so. And in fact, I'm actually going to widen mine just a little bit. A little bit more. Okay. All right, now you remember our wonderful friend, the Wonder Tape. Here's another really great use for it. So I'm going to take my zipper, and I'm going to use, this time I'm going to use the really skinny stuff, the 1/8 inch tape. I'm just going to lay that out. Make sure it's stuck down really well. All the way down. Okay, peel it off. And that's the beauty of it, is you don't need pins to sew this in with the Wonder Tape. Start at my line. Oops. All right, I'm going to switch back to my zipper foot and I'm going to go ahead and stitch this in place. And when I stitch this in place, I'm going to make sure that I'm actually going to stitch below the zipper stop. By continuing on and stitching down past your zipper stop, it'll make a stronger zipper when this is completed. So I'm just going to take it to the machine, and I want to check my needle position. I like to have my zipper foot snugged right up against the coil, and my needle position should be just inside of that. So I make sure that it hits the fabric and it looks all neat and tidy. And it's easy to sew its consistent distance because my zipper foot's acting like a little bumper up against the tape. And if I see that I haven't stuck it down exactly the way I want it, I can adjust as I go. That's also the beauty of the tape. It's easier than pinning. Okay. Okay, and as I said, I'm going to want to actually stitch past. Remember that this seam allowance that we've pressed is narrower than this one, so I have a little bit of space between it and the seam. And we're going to stitch, up to 1 inch past the foot. Now, this zipper isn't very long past the zipper stop, but I'm just going to sew down to the end of the zipper. And of course, make sure that my zipper foot doesn't get caught. And again, this just gives a little extra reinforcement at the bottom of the zipper so that it's stronger than if I had stopped right at the pull, or at the stop. All right, so there's one side of my lapped zipper ready to go. Okay, so now another piece of my magic tape. And magic tape is actually what it's called, I believe. Double-sided. It's also called double-sided tape, sewer's tape. Pretty commonly available. You can get it at most of the chain stores. But again, for this, I really like the 1/8 inch wide. Just less chance of interfering with your stitching. Make sure it's really on there. And then peel it back. Okay, so now I'm going to lay my seam precisely where I want it. Here's my little stop. So just for my quick reference, I'm going to place a pin where the zipper stop is, just for a visual. Because here's where I'm going to get out another household item, and that is our friend, the Scotch tape. Now, you really should have a tape dispenser in your sewing room if you can, for 2 reasons. Well, one, obviously it's great for certain techniques. Anytime you need a certain distance, this is 1/2 inch wide magic tape. And it's great for doing pattern alterations because 1/2 inch wide tape, you can tape it to go around corners to reinforce your patterns and things, but also it's great for top stitching when you need that 1/2 inch, which is perfect for inserting zippers. So I'm going to take my magic tape and I'm going to tape that down at the stop and right up the top of that zipper. Oops. Of course, make sure that zipper pulls out of the way. And now I have a really nice stitching line to use to help me to be more accurate. I always find I sew fine coming down. It's going across the bottom that always gets me. Okay. All right, so I'm going to place this under the foot, and I'm going to top stitch right along the tape, using that as my visual. Get down to the bottom of the tape, one more stitch. Okay. And pivot. Boy, that's right on the zipper tape. And I'm going to back stitch. All right. Now I'll just pull off my tape. And there is my lovely lapped zipper, with nice straight stitching across the back, it just really helps to have that tape on there for that visual guide. It makes your success so much easier. Wasn't that great? I just love that.